Okay.
Okay. All right. So, everyone, I'm really glad you could be here today. My name is Kate Bruner. I'm the Youth and Family Services Consultant at the Colorado State Library, and I use she, her pronouns. I want to welcome you to today's Talking Teen Services session. Talking Teen Services is a webinar series provided by the Colorado State Library in which we have webinars and panel discussions related to topics that would be relevant for people who are serving youth in their communities. This series and all of our Colorado State Library Youth Services offerings are created by the Youth and Family Services team at the Colorado State Library. And our salaries and operating expenses are fully funded by the Institute of Museum and Library Services. And so we are able to provide these at no cost to you because we have that funding. And just to note, the views, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed in this webinar do not necessarily represent those of our funder, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, or the US government. So that's it to get us started today. And I am going to hand things over to our incredible presenters. I am really, really excited to have them today just to share with you about this incredible program and the incredible amount of community engagement and relationship building they've done around this program that is really just a great model, I think, for us to all take a look at and consider how we could use in our libraries as well. So I'm just going to hand it over to you all today, ladies, and you can take it from there.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Kate. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We are really excited to share our Books Unbanned journey with you. Not just what we did, but how a small rural library used trust, preparation, and team leadership to take on censorship in a meaningful and sustainable way.
Yes, thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Trina Erickson. I'm the director of the McIntosh Memorial Library in Viroqua, Wisconsin. I've held this position for 18 years, and I'm most pleased to be able to be with my colleague Amelia today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amelia Jury, and I'm the Youth Services Director here at McIntosh Memorial Library, located in the small town of Viroqua, Wisconsin. We are a small rural library, but we are deeply rooted in our community. Our library has long focused on access, equity, and creating a welcoming space for everyone, long before Books Unbanned ever became a campaign for us. Built as a Carnegie Library in 1904, we have also opened a new location in 2016. We strive each day to meet the needs of our patrons in a welcoming, encouraging, and inviting space.
I want to share a couple of accolades for our library to let you know that there's a lot of power in small rural libraries. In 2022, we were awarded a state grant focusing on a DEI campaign that we did for an entire year called Creating Community Beyond Biases Library Resources. Also in 2022, McIntosh Memorial Library was named the best library in the state of Wisconsin. And again, I share that to make sure that you realize if you are in a small rural library, you can do amazing things. And Amelia and I are most excited to be here today to talk about our Books Unbanned campaign.
We believe libraries are more than buildings with books. They're places of connection, learning, and conversation. That philosophy has helped us shape everything that you're going to hear today. So what is Books Unbanned? Books Unbanned is a national campaign and initiative focused on protecting and expanding young people's access to books, materials, and other items that are being challenged or removed, especially titles that reflect diverse identities, experiences, and viewpoints. At its core, Books Unbanned is about intellectual freedom. It's about affirming that teens deserve access to information and stories, and libraries are a critical part of that access. What has helped to make this campaign especially powerful for us is that it centered youth voices, not just as participants, but as leaders. Books Unbanned was founded by the Brooklyn Public Library in April of 2022. Brooklyn Public Library joined those fighting for the rights of teens nationwide to discover themselves and form their own opinions. Inspired by the American Library Association's Freedom to Read statement, Books Unbanned is a response to an increasingly coordinated and effective effort to remove books from library shelves. Emma Erickson is one of the staff at Brooklyn Public Library that focuses on this campaign. Her role as the manager of youth civic engagement and expression helps to support the national coordination of the 20 participating libraries, of which McIntosh Memorial is one, in this year's campaign and in monthly meetings, helps to walk us through the provided toolkit and share resources that allow us to achieve success in organization. This can be materials such as banned book bingo cards for program engagement during a speaking opportunity, or pre-assembled slideshows detailing the history of censorship in the United States, alongside much more.
So let's talk a little bit about this grant. And before I do that, I do want to say we're going to give you a lot of examples throughout this presentation on how you can do a campaign like we have without a grant. We want to make that clear. But this grant, we were made aware of through some publication through the American Library Association. And Amelia and I talked about it, and we sort of latched onto it because we knew that this would bring teens into the library. And if you work in a public library, you know that teen engagement can be really challenging. We strive to bring teens in through creative programming, great materials, etc. But they're just a very busy group of people. And so we felt, wow, this might be a way to really engage with teens. So we went ahead and applied. As Amelia said, we were one of 20 libraries in the country selected to receive the grant. And it was a lot for our library. It's a $10,000 grant. And I say it's a lot because I want to put into perspective that the program budget that we have here at our library for 2026 for all programs, for babies to seniors, is $4,000. So to get a grant for $10,000 is just like, wow, it's huge for us. But we were so excited to be able to be selected and to know that we have an injection of money now that we can really take and run with this to help elevate teen voices in our community.
Now, starting out with your own campaign that is similar to, or maybe unlike Books Unbanned, start with the groundwork. At McIntosh Memorial Library, we waited until we had meetings with their library board and staff before doing any sort of press or marketing for this event. Before this program went public, we wanted to prioritize the importance of preparation to the fullest extent. Throughout our monthly sessions, we had trainings on what the grant was, an overview of the timeline of events that could possibly take place, possible outreach opportunities for our teen ambassadors and what they would be speaking on, and role-play scenarios to build common language verbiage and phrases that our staff would feel comfortable and confident in speaking to the community.
So this is how we went out and found the teens, and we failed the first time, and so we had to pivot, which I think is part of program planning. Amelia and I felt that we would put out a press release, we would do some social media posts and put flyers in the library, and magically teens would show up and say, I want to be part of the program, and none of that happened. So Amelia and I had to pivot, and I would say we went into a grassroots campaign. Amelia went over to our local public high school and met with lots of teens and explained to them that McIntosh Memorial Library had received a grant to do a program called Books Unbanned and how we needed teens to be part of this. I did the exact same thing, but I went over to a private high school in our community and I gave the same pitch. In the end, we had 5 students reach out and apply, and those are the 5 students you see. 2 of them came from the public high school, 3 of them came from the private high school that I visited. Because youth were the center, and we couldn't do anything with this grant until we had strong teens that said, I want to have a voice. And so they knew going into this that we were going to work with them to develop skills, especially around advocacy. They also knew that they would be doing outreach and engagement as part of this 12-month campaign. I should note it's from October 2025 to October 2026. Part of their work as our teen ambassadors was planning for events, and that meant public speaking, and it also meant doing education, but really helping them develop those advocacy and leadership development skills, because this whole campaign is about intellectual freedom and talking about censorship. And so we have been working with these students since October of 2025, and it has been an absolutely remarkable experience.
Our first meeting for this campaign kicked off at the beginning of November in 2025. After heavy recruitment in the 2 months prior, Macintosh Memorial Library was able to assemble a team of 5 teen ambassadors, whom you just saw, who would act together to help boost the fight for intellectual freedom. With the establishment that they would meet 2 to 3 times a month, plus any outreach that would come up, we were able to start lining up speakers for them to talk to our teens about the topics that would be covered throughout Books Unbanned. The first of these was Barry McKnight, the outreach coordinator for the Winding Rivers Library System. With Barry, the teens learned about the Library Bill of Rights and the ALA Freedom to Read Statement. Emma Erickson of Brooklyn Public Library joined us via Zoom immediately afterwards and talked about the origins and history of the campaign alongside some of the available resources that could be used by the participating cohort libraries. These included a free e-card that the teens could sign up for that would give them access to the Brooklyn Public Library's online catalog of banned book resources. I am including that QR code and link here for access to those resources on this slide. You don't have to be a part of the campaign to enjoy and have access to these materials. So I'll pause for a moment here so that you can go ahead and access this QR code. And please note that this presentation will be sent out post this meeting for you to also download it then if you are unable to in this moment. Now, you've heard quite a bit from both Trita and myself on this campaign and our roles in it. We think it is time to switch it up a little and let you hear directly from our teen ambassadors about why they joined Books Unbanned and why this campaign matters to them.
My name is Esma, and I'm in 10th grade at the Youth Initiative High School. And I joined Books Unbanned because banned books is a topic that I feel is very close to my heart as someone who a lot of these banned books I identify with, and they're very close to my heart. And I'm also someone who volunteers a lot in my local library in Gays Mills. And so far during this experience, I have really learned how this is a problem that manifests very really in people's lives, and how this is just taking so much more of a toll than I originally thought it did. Like reading the testimonials and everything, it's like I'm really gaining so much knowledge about the true extent of how this is affecting people's lives. And I just really hope to gain just kind of the feeling that maybe I can do something about it, like that maybe we can do something, and that's kind of what I want to gain from this experience. So yeah, thank you. Bye.
I'm Carson Tracy. I'm currently a senior at Rocco High School, and I joined Books Unbanned as a teen ambassador because I value the protection of freedom of speech, and I recognize the importance of ideas existing unrestricted. Something I've already learned from this campaign is that the history of banning books in the United States goes very far back into the 17th century, before the US was a country. And something that I hope to gain from this experience is I hope to learn more about the importance of books being free to read in a community and how I can better express that opinion of importance. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maximum. I'm 16 years old, and I go to Youth Initiative High School. I joined Books Unbanned because I wrongly believe in standing up for what you think is right, and activism even one stuff. And believe that censorship should not be a thing, especially in public systems where the purpose is granting equal access to information to everybody. There should not be one thing that gets oppressed just because a certain person doesn't think it's right, doesn't want it on shelves. That gives no individual or even group the right to restrict access to what everyone has. And I mean, that's really what we've been learning so far. Like, we've gone around, we've talked about, what we individually believe, scenarios, how we would deal with things. And honestly, it's great. Like, everybody's on the same page. I feel really welcome and just a part of the group in general. And I think everybody there is confident enough, has the power, has the skills to really make an impact and get our message across. And I'm really hoping that we can convince more people that book bans should not be a thing, that they should not be accepted, and that information is for everybody and should be free and unrestricted.
My name is Mari Kotke, and I am a sophomore at Youth Initiative High School. I joined the Books Unbanned campaign as a teen ambassador because it's a cause close to my heart as a writer and an ally. I believe that the less representation available, the more conversations surrounding certain topics like LGBTQIA will be labeled as taboo and therefore talked about less. As a teenager, I often feel like there is nothing I can do to make a difference in the world. So when I was introduced to the idea of being a teen ambassador for the Books Unbanned campaign, I was intrigued. I've learned so much from Amelia and the other teenagers in this campaign. Amelia is a phenomenal teacher. She encourages a lot of open discussion and has us do a lot of hands-on activities. I've learned the importance of speaking up and how to do that in a productive way to get my point across, as well as the history of the movement, statistics, and how things have changed drastically since then. And I hope to gain the ability to speak with educated confidence about what I believe in and why, and be overall a more well-rounded person. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nathan Walter III. I am currently a junior at Roco High School. I decided to join Books Unbanned because freedom to read is very important to me. And with the growing amount of censorship that we've seen online through our government, we need to spread awareness about this. And this program is the perfect way to do so. Currently, I've learned how to make outreach event posters using Canva, which will help spread awareness about Books Unbanned. I've learned how to introduce myself formally at an outreach event, describing who I am, who the teen ambassadors are, and what our goal is, and how we can achieve those goals. And I have also learned how important literature is to people who may not have access to the internet at home, and how censorship can affect their freedom to read. I apologize if you can hear the vacuum. My mother is currently vacuuming. I hope to gain more public speaking skills, and more in-depth knowledge of the real-world impact on censorship, and methods on how to fight censorship in person and online. So hopefully we can put an end to all censorship, and the freedom to read can be for everyone in our nation, hopefully the world. Thank you.
So those are our teens, and I think you can probably tell Amelia and I have a lot of heart for those students, that they've been just great. So let's talk about how we set this program up. Again, as we alluded to earlier, it is a 12-month campaign, October 2025 through October 2026, with the overarching goals being helping these teens develop confidence to do outreach and relationship building, and then also the skill acquisition and training so they can represent the McIntosh Memorial Library in their school or at various outreach events. So here's our timeline, starting with October 2025 through January of this year. Amelia started having meetings with these students to begin that training and education about what it means for intellectual freedom. What does Books Unbanned mean? What is censorship? What is a banned book list? And so we had multiple meetings with those students until January, when they gave their first public presentation to our library board. And it was a really good way for our library board to say, wow, this is really powerful. And to hear from these great kids, they're so well spoken. And so our board really then became invested into this program and have been very supportive ever since. In February and in March, we did a lot of prep because the students had their first tabling opportunity. This was held on March 14th, so just a couple of months ago. It was here at the library. We did a seed swap and a garden expo. And this is the teens pictured on your screen here. This is their chance to come out and say, I am part of the Books Unbanned campaign. And it was a great way. They gave out swag, so people loved it because they got free stuff. But it was the first time the students really had an opportunity to engage with the public. And they were very prepared and they were very excited to do that. And I'm very pleased to say everything went really well. During National Library Week in April, we held a huge event called Books Unbanned, Freedom to Read, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. And then this is looking at what's left for this campaign for us, starting next month through October. So we are going to wrap up this year-long campaign during Banned Books Week, which is the first part of October, and it is going to be a big one, and we're going to talk all about that. But the biggest part is we are bringing in one of our country's authors that have faced numerous challenges, and that is Ellen Hopkins. And so over the summer months, the students are going to be preparing for that event. They're going to be tabling at various events. They're going to be doing a large book giveaway. And really, I would say getting themselves ready for a pretty big banned books week here at the library, which is something we've never really done before. Maybe we had some banned books on display saying, yep, they're banned, and we have them here at the library. But we're going to make a big splash this year, and those student ambassadors are all part of the work.
So on Friday, April 24th, we had the immense privilege of hosting a massive event called Books Unbanned Freedom to Read. This program ran from 12:30 to 9 o'clock, and we were in the fortunate position to be able to host two notable authors. Ourselves, alongside our teen ambassadors, brought in Lois Lowry, whose works include Number the Stars and The Giver, as well as Angie Thomas, author of The Hate You Give, to discuss how their works have been challenged or banned across the United States. Our teen ambassadors also did a presentation about their participation in this campaign and what it means to advocate for intellectual freedom. We also showed a screening of The Librarians, a documentary about librarians located, especially in the South, who are fighting to keep banned books in the youth collections. Angie Thomas, after speaking about The Hate You Give and the censorship efforts that have been made against it in several notable places, she did a book signing for the public that had many of her works and was able to talk one-on-one and make a personal connection with our community.
So coming up, as I talked about just a couple minutes ago, will be the grand finale of our year-long campaign, and we're going to do that during Banned Books Week. It's October 4th through the 10th, 2026 this year. We are going to have a lot of displays in the library, which again, we've never done before, but we are going to do that this year. And the teen ambassadors will be putting those displays together, and they will also be doing some tabling inside the library, talking to people about this year-long campaign. And I think a lot of people will say, what's a banned book? What is this Banned Books Week? Because again, we haven't ever put a ton of attention into it. We're also going to be distributing in September copies of author Ellen Hopkins' book, Crank. And our intention is we're giving away 30 copies of that to people who are willing to come back during Banned Books Week to our library to have a community conversation about why this book has landed on a banned books list and what is this banned books all about anyway. We are also doing that week another screening of the film The Librarians. This time, though, we're not going to do it here at the library. We're going to take it on the road to our city hall. And our mayor and council and all are absolutely in support of this. And so that's a big statement. It's not just the library saying censorship is wrong. Now it's the elected officials and our government leaders who are saying, yeah, come to City Hall and show this film. And then Saturday, October 10th, we just have a really great day planned. This is another opportunity where we are going to be featuring our teen ambassadors. They're going to do a half-an-hour program on what this entire year has meant to them. What have they learned? What have they taken away from this process? Emma from the Brooklyn Public Library, the funding source, is joining us as well. We're having an individual from the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction come in to tell the audience, as well as staff and our teen ambassadors, what book challenges have been like in the state of Wisconsin at a state government level. What has their response been? How have they been working with people that have put out challenges in public libraries and in school libraries as well? And then the big culmination of the day will be having author Ellen Hopkins with us. The teens will be able to introduce her, be able to meet her, and I think this is just a super way to wrap up Banned Books Week, and this campaign is during Banned Books Week coming up in October. So why support matters? Amelia talked about this at the beginning of the presentation, how we did what I would kind of call behind the scenes bookkeeping before we ever went public with this. This is a big topic, intellectual freedom and censorship, and we all know what has been happening across the country. So before we ever went public with this, we wanted to make sure all the people surrounding us were pretty well versed in what we were going to do. And it started with the library board. We went to them and had a conversation about this grant and what it was going to mean and what we were going to do and how public this was going to be. And my library board opted to take a training on intellectual freedom. And I think it was incredibly eye-opening, not only to them, but what public library staff have been training for and preparing for in case there's ever a book challenge that comes their way. So our library board went through that training, and so did my library staff. We all sat down and went through this training. And as Amelia talked about, we spent months in staff meetings role playing, making sure we understood what to do if someone comes up and says, "This is a terrible program," or "Why is this book in your library?" And so while we might not have had all the answers, I think as staff, we were prepared for those immediate encounters with the public if they would ever come forward. We also spent a lot of time at the board level and staff level looking at our collection development policy, making sure that it checked every single box, that it talked about the freedom to read, the freedom to view, the Library Bill of Rights, making sure that if a challenge came forward, because we're making this so public, that we were prepared to handle that. We also connected with our public or our school libraries, rather, as a public library. And that's where Amelia connected with the staff at the public school. I went to the private school, and we made sure the school administration and the school librarians knew what was coming from their local public library. We also made sure the families of these teen ambassadors understood that this is going to be a very public role, talking about, again, which can be a really tricky topic, and they were all on board. And our final kind of piece before we went public was reaching out to our trusted media outlets. We wanted them to know what was coming and how we were going to handle this, and that we were putting teen ambassadors as the central voices for the library in a really important part of our history, and making sure that our library was ready to have a difficult conversation. And so our media outlets were really supportive, and we wanted to give them kind of a heads up before we sent out press releases, and have had constant communication with them since we started this program in October. So that was really important to us, is to lay those foundational pieces and make sure that everybody that's noted here understood what we were going to do before we ever said one word to the public about our Books Unbanned campaign.
Now, while a grant or additional funding for these types of projects can be helpful, they're not always a necessary component to start one. The campaign is scalable. You can do school visits to recruit teens to your library space. And if you are able to, we always recommend providing a snack as an incentive to join. Or if you have the budget, maybe even some gift cards. There are many things that you can do on a smaller scale that are free or low budget for your library, such as having a group of kids set up a banned book display, creating flyers about intellectual freedom to post around your library space, hosting book talks or clubs focusing on a banned book and having a community conversation on it, holding a social gathering to talk about the subject of intellectual freedom, alongside much more. One of the most important things that you should focus on in your efforts to build or create a campaign is relationship building. Before you start anything, run this program past your library board and staff to make sure that they are on your side and support this effort. The stronger your teamwork, the stronger your campaign. This can help to build long-term trust and establish common phrases and verbiage that can be used later on down the line to reduce any crisis responses that might come up. This also helps to reestablish a common mission. This ties into one of our most important phrases at McIntosh Memorial Library: go slow to go fast. This helps to build the quality of the speech and work being prepared, as opposed to a quick and incomplete turnout. I highly recommend that you tailor your program to what age you want this to fall into. At McIntosh Memorial Library, we built our program around the ages of teenagers who are 14 to 18 years old. Use your library system as an additional backup. See if your library systems director would be willing to step in and do a talk on the Library Bill of Rights in your state and the American Library Association's Freedom to Read statement. They should be there to support you. There are also many other grants that you can look to help fund your initiative. There's the potential of the Books on Band grant that may be up for renewal in 2026. There's the Judith Krug Memorial Grant that gives funding to purchase banned books. There's also the recent Penguin Random House partnership with United Families in giving funding out to expand youth collections. It does not also hurt to have swag and visibility tools. These can be flyers with related logos, t-shirts, tote bags, pencils, bookmarks, and more. You can use these to help get the image out. And lastly, as far as teen recruitment goes, we always say that food is your friend. If you have the budget, again, gift cards can be used as an additional incentive. We also highly recommend that you do school visits. This is a great way to engage with your kids and form a connection with your local school librarian for future community conversations. Now, this is the toolkit that has been used by myself and the other 19 participating libraries in this year's cohort. It includes things like the banned book bingo board, as well as presentations that we can use to talk about the history of the Books on Banned campaign and why it matters. It has been incredibly useful to us, and we would like to share that with you. Again, you don't have to be a part of this campaign to have access to these materials. So I will pause here for a moment to allow you to scan if you have a device nearby, or as I said before, at the end of this presentation, this will be sent out, so you'll have access to it post our conversation. As we come up on the 250th anniversary of our country, this is a great time to shed light on this topic. In conjunction with the discussions of independence and freedom, you can hold book clubs or put up a challenged book display talking about intellectual freedom and what it truly means for a book or material to go uncensored. It is a great time to hold community conversations at your own state or local Department of Public Instruction. You can bring these individuals in to talk to your teens about what it means to be a member and advocate for intellectual freedom. You can have them write letters to elected officials to help try to create change at a local level. You can invite those elected officials in to talk to teens about what the importance would be of them voting for the first time, as many of them are reaching that time period of their lives. This is a great way to advocate for the ALA Freedom to Read statement or the Library Bill of Rights through these small grassroots efforts. You can also have them lead book discussions, host events at your library, or do outreach within the community.
I'm going to go back to partnerships again and making sure that as a library staff or organization, you feel supported. Again, this is a big topic. It can be a very emotional topic. And so having those partnerships in place feels almost like a warm blanket. It's that support mechanism. And so we started internally, our Friends of the Library organization, if you have one, I mean, their goal is to do volunteering, to be good advocates, and of course, fundraising. And so having that conversation with your friends group and letting them know what you're about to embark on was a really important step for us because those, again, are community advocates. They're out there in the community and they can really be a good, literally a friend for you. We talked about those local schools. If you don't have a relationship with your local school librarian, make one. Working as a librarian for the last 18 years, I cannot tell you how helpful librarians are. And most of them are pretty proud to show off their libraries and they love to talk about their collections and stuff. So it seems that it's been, at least on our end, easy to build those relationships with our school librarians. They're very helpful and they want to be engaged with the public library. And think about community organizations. Who's an organization in your community that has maybe been a great funding source for you, or they've stepped up to help volunteer? For us, we have a local Lions organization in town, and they have been absolutely unbelievable in funding for the library. So looking for those community organizations who have your back and can be like, yeah, I support the library and this Books on Banned campaign. It feels better because you have those community advocates out there. It's not just the library versus the world. It's the library and all these other people that are sending the message that censorship is just not right at all. And reminding everybody that the library is a great space to have these conversations. We actually have talked about that. We try to make McIntosh Memorial Library a place to have what could be some difficult conversations. We've been doing a lot of educational outreach over the last year on opioids in rural areas, and how that's impacting our community. So we've already established that the library is a place to have conversations on difficult topics. It's a safe place to be. I share this picture only because it represents how many different groups we have gotten involved with the library and our advocacy work. In the picture in the center is myself, and I'm accepting, I don't even know what it was, some kind of certificate from a member of the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. I think this is during National Library Week. And then the other gentleman on the far right is our city mayor. The gentleman on my left, that is a member of our library board, and then is a colleague of mine. So we've really, tried to let all these different groups know what this library is doing and why, again, we are making this library a safe place to have difficult conversations. We share this little flyer or bookmark with you above the picture to save the date for Banned Books Week, October 4th through the 10th, 2026. This is the logo this year and what it looks like. And so we are, again, we're really excited to do something pretty big in 2026. It's just been something we haven't. But I feel that through all the preparation we did before this grant and during this grant period and our campaign, we are really confident now that we should put out at least a banned books display and be okay talking about what a banned book is and what intellectual freedom is all about.
We want to say thank you for you all to join us here today. It is important to know that this work starts with trust, not controversy. You can start your campaign small and build with intention. Trust in your community and make sure that the timing is right. If your community is experiencing unrest at a local, state, or federal level, it is okay if you wait before you feel comfortable starting and embarking on this mission. The fight will always be here, and it is never too late to talk about it. One of my favorite quotes comes from the banned book that features prominently on the American Library Association's top banned books, and it goes, "People really are like houses with vast rooms and tiny windows. And maybe it's a good thing, the way that we never stop surprising each other."
I know we've covered a lot of ground in a short amount of time. I realize that. So Amelia and I want to share our contact information. There's mine. I'm the library director, my email, and then that's Amelia's contact information, our website address, QR code to our library, and reach out. We'd love for you to come to Viroqua in October and experience Wisconsin in the fall and meet Ellen Hopkins and these incredible teens that Amelia and I have had the pleasure of working with since October and all that's gone into it. So open invitation. Please come and please reach out anytime.
And now it is your turn. We would love to hear any questions that you have for us. This is a time for open discussion, for you to maybe share some challenges or ideas that you have within your community and library space, and also to learn from each other. So I will let Kate go ahead and facilitate how we go about doing this.
Well, we had a few questions come in the chat, so we could get started with those and go from there. If anyone else has questions, you can go ahead and drop them now, and we can continue the discussion. So the first question we received was, is this grant or program for all libraries or for those who are targeted by book banning efforts?
Sure. Go ahead, Amelia.
So this program is applicable across all libraries. We feel that any library, ourselves included, are able to start this effort and really carry it forward. If your library is facing challenges or book censorship, it's also maybe especially important that you come up with something like this or something similar to this, because I feel it would really help get that word out and spread the message about the fight for intellectual freedom and against censorship.
Okay, so the second question we had in the chat was, did you help prep the teams for engaging with the public and the board? So I think you talked a little bit about that, but maybe you can just expand on that a little, give people a little bit, even more information about how you all went about that.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I think that was the biggest part of our work right away in October of 2025 was letting the students know that they're going to be very public. And part of this is engagement. And so our first thought was, let's let them engage with some group that is going to be incredibly supportive, and that was the library board. But maybe you can talk about the prep that went into that, Amelia.
Certainly. So within our first couple of meetings throughout October, November, we held all sorts of role-playing scenarios. So our teams were given little slips of paper that had a prompt on them. So it'd be like a patron comes up to you and asks you why this mission is important, and then they had to come up with an answer as to how they would respond to that. So that was just one example. And then there were many others that we chose from and got to practice together as a group to really get them comfortable before they had that first outreach opportunity on March 14th. So then they got to put that play and kind of experience the community conversation around these topics in person. So I feel they were well prepared.
Nice. Did you hear any responses from them, like how they felt about the preparation, like after they had that first event, like how were they feeling like, about how it went and how
Yeah, I
prepared?
mean, on March 14th, during our seed swap and growing expo, I went up to them many times and just did what I would call a temperature check and said, "How you doing? Are you doing okay?" And all of them were just beaming like this. They were so excited. And I think part of it was because the response was positive. They didn't hit any roadblocks. They didn't have any challenges. They were handing out, I don't know, was it pencils and bookmarks and all types of little swag. And they felt really good. The one thing was all five of them were together too. There wasn't a time when it was just one. They were all as a team, and I think they really gained support, confidence, speaking abilities because they saw how each other was responding to people and questions. So I don't know, that was incredible that they were so confident manning a station at this well-attended event. I'm sure you have some more thoughts.
Yeah, so as Trina said, the teams have been very excited throughout the whole of the process. They've all been very responsive. Feedback from our community has been overwhelmingly positive. So, yeah, they've all been having, I think, an excellent time, and it's been a really great time for them to practice these new skills and really learn more about this campaign and why it would matter at their age level.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and to, just the amount of civic engagement and confidence engaging in the civic arena too, I think is really um, such a wonderful thing that y'all help them um, develop. So we had one more question that was checking on what's the name of the grants for purchasing, like helping to purchase banned books.
Certainly. So we are part of the Books Unbanned grant that comes directly from the Brooklyn Public Library. That's how we have been able to achieve everything that we have done so far. And the renewal status for it is, it's up in the air at the moment, but should hopefully continue on. We also have the Judith Krug Memorial Grant. That one was applicable as of last time we prepared this presentation, so it's still standing to my knowledge, and that's been helpful to acquire resources and materials. And then the last one was a partnership between the Penguin Random House and the United Families, who supply money to libraries, I believe public libraries, to acquire banned book materials for their library collections.
Great. Yeah, and we're gonna send out slides from y'all's presentation when we send out the information from this webinar to the folks who registered. So that information I know was on one of your slides, and so people will be able to grab that there as well. So, any other questions or comments for our presenters today? I'll give it just a second for people to type. All right. I just want to thank you all for so generously offering your time and energy and experience to us today. I really, really appreciate y'all being here for sure. And appreciate everyone for being here, and being engaged and coming to listen to this great presentation. And I hope everyone is leaving with at least one action item that you can take and apply. Research in adult learning tells us if you can apply even just one piece of your learning today, you'll actually do a much better job at retaining all of it. So get out there and do the thing. And as a reminder, we will indeed make the recording link available. It'll be on Libraries Learn, the State Library's YouTube page, and then also we'll email all the session materials out to y'all. This is a series of webinars that we do, Talking Teen Services. So if you're interested in the entire series, I'm going to drop a link to the complete playlist into the chat if you want to bookmark that. And then our final ask today would be if you please complete our sessions survey. And I'll put that link in the chat again as well. And then you'll notice that the date and the presenter names and the name of the session are pre-filled. So you can just scroll right past that big list of names and go straight to the rest of the survey. And we're really excited to hear what you all have to say. I read through every one of those surveys. And we use your survey feedback to help inform future training. So we really appreciate your time and energy and thought, like when you fill that out. So take care of yourselves and each other as we head into what will hopefully be a joyful community building summer for all of us. And don't forget to drink water, wear your sunscreen, and high five your colleagues every once in a while throughout the summer. So thank you all for taking time out of your day to be here.
Thank you. Have
Thank
a
you.
fantastic day.